Thank you once again. So this time it's not a recap, it's a fresh live panel. And we have 4 panelists for this panel. We have Arinjoy Dhar, our Arinjoy of BRAC, who was before a senior director in BRAC, was a banker, as a commercial banker for many years. I forgot how many years. He was with HSBC Hong Kong, and he was head of operational excellence in HSBC before joining BRAC. Now, we would like to invite our second banker, Mr. Arfan Ali. Arfan Ali is a successful and inspiring career banker who was former president and managing director of Bank Asia Limited with more than 30 years of diverse experience in banking profession to his credit. And he's also known for his Mr. Agent Bank, if I can say, of Bangladesh. And then we have Snigdha Ali, who is currently the Interim Senior Program Officer and Gender Advisor for Wi-Fi and Bangladesh at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and manages initiatives for advancing financial inclusion in Bangladesh with a special focus on increasing women's access to financial products and services. She's also a former BRAC family member. She was our head of communication before she moved to the greener posture, if I may say. And then we have Dewan Jahidul Hassan, is an innovation fund analyst at UNCDF in the Asia and Pacific region, and has extensive experience in financial sector program management, access to finance, mobile financial services, women economic empowerment, digital transformation for MSMEs, entrepreneurship and MSME development. So I would like to welcome all 4 of you, sir, to join me on the stage. So this discussion is about inclusion, what to do, what more to do, and what we are seeing across the globe. And we have 3 finance professionals, 2 career banker, and a student of Dhaka University and my alma mater in finance department. So I'll start with you, Snigdha, because you're not the finance. No. And also, just so that you know, this event is sponsored by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Snigdha is one of the representatives. We have Jason Lam with us. And yesterday we met a colleague from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in the Rani in the first keynote plenary. So I'll start with you, Snigdha. From a donor's perspective, if you may, what are the current scopes regarding investment to ensure ensure financial inclusion to the most marginalized in the post-COVID era, if you may?
Thank you. Thank you, Morshed Bhai, for the kind introduction. So I would say that we are living in an interesting time. On one hand, we are experiencing rapid technological advancement, business growth, and market growth. But on the other, we cannot seem to get rid of some of the sticky problems that keep putting roadblocks on this path to progress. One of those persistent challenges is connecting the last mile, bringing the outcome of the progress to the most marginalized segment of the population, addressing the existing gender divide, the digital divide, and even the regional divide between urban and rural areas in terms of access, opportunity, information, needs to be at the core of any service delivery model that we have been implementing and want to implement in the future. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation would like to support in efforts to reduce those gaps and strengthen the last mile delivery. As one of the pathways towards economic empowerment and a better life, we believe financial inclusion is crucial. There's one saying that we quite commonly use here is that Bangladeshis are resilient. What we have seen at the face of regular natural disasters like floods, droughts, cyclones, how people turn around, we have seen something similar during the pandemic. people very quickly, and people from the remote areas, people with kind of a lack of enough literacy to understand the digital platforms, people with lack of financial awareness to understand how to transact, people from all walks of life just very quickly adapted to the digital financial challenge and not only survived but thrived. So we would like to partner in creating for an enabling environment by supporting for pro-poor data infrastructure, gender-focused financial products and services, and market linkages to that our targeted segment can get, so that our targeted segment can get the most out of an inclusive financial ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Abba. So let me now, because Abba talked about how reaching to the last mile and awareness can create resilience. So I'll come to Arinjoy. Maybe I'll ask the same question to Arinjoy and Arfan Bhai, two ex-bankers. So the question is, what needs to happen? What incentive needs to be in place for reimagining the service delivery models to reaching to the poor, to the marginalized, to the unbanked, if you may? Arinjoy, if you start.
Sure. Thank you. I think the service delivery and I'll touch base a little bit on that. So BRAC Microfinance has probably the most extensive network in the country. So we are serving 8.5 million beneficiaries through 2,700 branches and 35,000 staff who are mostly on the ground. So, and also we have what we call it village organization, that we have 250,000 village organizations across the country. So we can actually reach out to 10 million families like in 2 hours notice or 3 hours notice. That's an amazing connectivity to begin with. But then we are looking into the connectivity even more deeply to see how we can reach out to more clients and more beneficiaries through more connectivity. So recently we launched an app for our MSME customers because they are more digital ready and they're basically, this can save them a lot of time. And on the other side, people who do not have smartphone and who are the most marginalized, for them we are also designing a USSD solution in partnership with Bikash now, which will go live very soon. Other than the digital interventions.
USSD means you don't need a smartphone.
Yes. Yeah. No, you don't need a smartphone, that's right. So yeah, exactly.
Any phone is?
Any phone is fine, yeah. So feature phone is also fine, right? So other than that, we are also looking at the physical distribution channel as well. For example, we are doing some small scale, we call it client interaction points for keeping in mind the RMG workers. So at their doorstep, so that they don't need to look for us, we can go and look for them. And this is right in front, these CIPs will be right in front of their factories, right? And also we are looking at special digital intervention for the women in the RMG sector as well, so that we can reach out to them more conveniently and it's more convenient for them. But more importantly, these are all channel specific, but more importantly, I think what Snigdha touched based on the market linkage, the product design, product innovation, I think these things are very important and connecting them with livelihood. I think those are the most important factors.
Thank you. So, Arinjoy, you are actually doing agent banking model for MFI. The client interaction point is almost like an agent in your agent in a garments factory, right?
Yeah.
So, same question to you, Arfan Bhai. What needs to happen to reach this last mile?
Thank you. If you tell me to narrate it in one sentence, that is cooperation and collaboration among the operators, I mean MFI, banks, MFS, and other partners, developing partners even. They all together, they need to go for it. Something we can imagine that like a commodity, now it is e-commerce reaching your home. The banking service should reach your home. That is the ultimate goal. Second, like a commodity, you purchase it from the next door shop. The banking should be available in the next door shop. And it is possible. It is not imagination. It is possible. And in some countries, in China, in India, and Philippines, some other countries are already in this space of delivering the banking service at the doorstep. Otherwise, what we call the uses of this financial service will not increase. If you make it available to the next door, if you make it convenient, if you make it low cost, only then you can imagine that people will accept this openly. Like the MFS service that has reached so many people because it is nearby and it is available for everybody, and now it has become a degree of education that you understand what is being offered to you. In the banking also, we need to make them enough knowledgeable, and information flow should be that much open that they understand what they are taking in as a product. So it is the job of the bankers as a whole, in particular, and MFI to partner together to deliver the service. As Mr. Ajoy was talking, there's 250 units of service unit existing in the village level of this country. It can transform the country in the rural economy, if partnering with the financial institutions, if partnering with the developing agencies. So that is the thing that can happen.
Thank you. Thank you, Arfan bhai. Now, Dewan bhai, UNCDF deals with this issue globally, this issue of access, the issue of capital, small capital globally. So, and then globally, post-pandemic, we saw almost a trend of changes in banks. So what changes you are seeing from your vantage point globally, or if not globally, global south, in terms of getting banks and financial institutions closer to people?
Of course, there has been a major shift for banks' culture. I mean, it took so many years for MFIs to prove that this marginalized segment is bankable. But eventually, in last decade, we have seen good progress. Like Arfan bhai said, agent banking has worked really well for reaching out to the last mile. And Arfan bhai also, I mean, is inspired or aspired that banking should be to your door, or at least to nearby. But why not banking should be at your hand, right? So that's something is happening globally. Banking is at your palm to your smartphones, right? So eKYC is one more thing that happened in Bangladesh recently, and it's improving financial inclusion, and it will be improving in a faster rate, right? So what's happening through application program interfaces, banks are now connected to different authorities like credit bureau. They can just in real time can check the credit status or credit rating of any customers immediately. And also they can connect with the national identification election commission's database. And through Parichoy app, within seconds, they can just verify the KYC of any customer. So this makes it possible to provide services through the mobile apps, right? And also, if I give some examples, what we have been doing globally, I mean, in Cambodia, we have launched a project with Boost Capital, and they partner with AMK Microfinance to disburse loans. And how that's happening is through the messenger, through chatbot, where any customers can get in and just provide some replies to a chatbot, and instantly within 10 minutes they can get loans. And it happens all through the things that I just mentioned, through eKYC verifications online, and checking with credit bureau in Cambodia. It happens in 10 minutes. So also in Nepal, we did transactional based, transactional history based credit loan distributions with Himalaya Innovations, where the smallholder farmers in rural areas can get loans based on the sales transactions they did on the e-commerce platform. So the banks like Nabil Bank or Manushi Microfinance can just take the data from Himalaya Innovations, and based on that, they can do the credit ratings of any farmers to provide loans directly. Same thing can be, is happening here also, sir. I mean, with iFarmer, we did a project with Mutual Trust Bank, where Mutual Trust Bank takes the credit ratings of smallholder farmers who sold cattle in recent years. And whatever the revenue is transacted in iFarmer's Shuffle app is then analyzed, and the mutual trust bank is directly providing credit based on just that without collateral. So these are the things that's evolving the financial access for those marginalized sectors, segments, and it's improving day by day.
It's great to know because this KYC and the credit history was one of the biggest bottlenecks that poors were facing in both in MFI and in the corporate banking world. So let me come back to Arinjoy. Again, please wear your MFI hat, but also your ex-banker hat. So what is your experience from the pandemic? Like, what lessons have you personally and as a leader learned during pandemic in terms of financial access and products? And what you would like to do about it? Like, what lessons are you going to take forward? And what do you want to do differently in terms of microfinance? What do you think the banks should be doing differently? Arinjoy.
Thank you. So I think we all know the impact of it. We have been hearing from yesterday that people lost their livelihood, they lost their savings, they borrowed money, they got into various loans, and finding it very difficult. We saw that a lot of new poor has emerged in the country. But the lesson learned is more important because we have seen also like the lesson learned. Number one was the people who actually had a lot of deposits with us. A lot of people, like half of our clients are actually depositors as well. So we could see the contrast. So people who deposited and versus not deposited any money with us. So people who had some deposit, they actually survived very well. So their resilience was very good. They survived very well. So based on that lesson learned, we're actually designing some new products now, which is going to work for the marginalized people, especially the savings product. We're offering very high interest rate compared to the bank, particularly keeping in mind, this money is going to go to the people who actually need it the most, right?
Yeah.
That is number one. So product design, product innovation, keeping in mind what we have learned and how we can help them further going forward. Yeah. The other thing is creating opportunities, right? So it has to be linked with livelihood. So it's not just giving money. It's about making sure that they utilize the money correctly, they bring, and more importantly, connect with the market, connect with the right seller, buyer. So looking to the entire value chain, supply chain, that's very important. Because if you look at these people, they actually do not have the access to information, right? So that is very important. I think another important aspect that we are looking at is the moving people out of cash economy to digital economy. And that's very important, right? So that goes back to what we have been hearing that, like iFarmer has been doing, by doing the credit rating and stuff like that. So the moment we digitize the transactions and we know the deposits and the withdrawals, we can actually take it to a credit rating and see, and then give them instant credit based on that. So moving people from cash economy to digital economy is very important. And another key learning is like, the well-being, right? So we are looking into the well-being of our clients very closely. I'm very pleased to let you know that we are actually starting a pilot from 1st of November. We are going to give a free health screening for all of our clients. It's a big ambition because we have 8.5 million people to cover and with no cost. So we are starting with 2,000 people as a pilot from 1st of November. We'll see how it goes. And that will give us a trend, like, how many people are suffering from what disease. Especially if I tell you about some, because most of our beneficiaries are women. So one of the key factor, if you look at the statistics in Bangladesh, about 62% of the people who are 35 plus have myopia. And they don't even know. And that impacts their livelihood a lot, especially women who are into garments or other critical job where they need the eye care. And there's a myth that, eye care is expensive, eyeglasses are expensive. So we are doing that free and then giving them, we're going to give them the health care, particularly eye care. And we're also partnering with other organizations who can give actually the eyeglasses at a very cheap price. So I think that's going to be quite a game changer if you can do that, right? Fantastic. So I think these are the key, learning points and way forward.
So you're instead of just a financial package, you're actually packaging in life and livelihood together. Fantastic. Fantastic. Arfan bhai, as I said in the introduction, you are the agent banking, Mr. Agent Bank in Bangladesh. And for those who doesn't know about agent bank, it's really a distributed banking arrangement whereby you can actually have a bank next door who behave, looks like a bank, but run by individual who is bankable himself or herself. So I know, of course, you will say that post-pandemic we probably need to do more of agent banking. But what else, or what changes in agent banking should be brought in, or what else should be done to extend this agent bank network even further?
Thank you. Agent banking did what it could do. Basically, it included 16 million people in the banking field, and it supported foreign remittance, it supported micro savings at the rural level, it supported credit, it supported fund transfer around this place, and created some degree of habit in the rural people. And 87% of the customers that are rural, 46% are women on this. That is very important. And the bank I left, Bank Asia, the women enrollment was 56%. That is the first time in Bangladesh history that you see more women are in banking than the male part, especially when we address in the rural level, because they are not getting enough benefit out of this. And finally, the report that will amaze you, and I think that is very important piece of information. This is the first time in banking history and Bangladesh history that the savings rate, I mean, it is not in absolute number, but savings rate in the rural Bangladesh increased more than the urban savings rate.
Wow.
This is the first time. Wow. So that happened because of the financial inclusion that is happening in the rural level. It was not possible. The change is something like that. And the change we see in future is something, the extension of agent banking beyond it is, I mean, what should I say? Boundary. Banking should be boundaryless.
Yeah.
And it should not have a physical facilities like this. We created agent banking, and to be honest, I must acknowledge, Morshed Bhai was the first man from a foreign organization, UNDP. He said, after visiting our booth to my seniors, that it should work. I was the deputy managing director then. And he said one sentence, it should work. So that changed the game, especially in me. Still, I feel that power. Something that should work. So what is the next that should work? You see, we solved some of the problems. It is banking problem we solved, say, up to a level through agent banking. Now the payment solution should be there, and Mr. Ajoy was also referring, the digitization. Where is that? So when you make the account digitized, you make it available for the people and nearby, and they can cash in, cash out easily. There is no terms, condition attached. Mind it, money should float freely, and anything to be money should be available anywhere and acceptable by everybody. So this is possible only when you go beyond this one bank, one agent model. That means under one booth, digital booth, in every village, we have a dream. Every village will have a digital booth, 87,000 in number, and that will offer digital banking service for all the banks, for MFI, for MFS, for telemedicine, for agricultural credit, for other services that are possible, insurance like this, e-commerce pickup point. So this can be one village development growth center that will assist the people around it in cash in, cash out, in development issues, in utility services, G2P payment, P2G payment, everything. And if we can create this convenience If we can make them the service available in the village level, only then digitization will happen. Money is well accepted by everybody. So digital payment should be well accepted by everybody. Otherwise, digitization will not happen. So it will take a phase out time. We cannot be cashless overnight. It is less cash and percentage that 30%, now 20% transaction is done digitally. Say then 30, 40, 50, like 70, 80. Whole digitization is also not desirable. In Sweden, they say that keep some cash with you because if anything goes wrong in the system, you will be starving. So keep some cash. In China, they issued one circular from central bank that don't refuse to accept physical money because they have become so advanced that they refuse to accept physical money. So the oldest people, the people in the village level, they hold cash still. They believe in cash. So
Right.
that degree of cash should be there. So the last mileage solution is a booth, anything, the booth by any, say, telco, by MFI, by MFS, by bank itself, which will be connected through an aggregator that all payments can be made through that. It's a humanitarian-like things. And more than that, it can speak and it can solve your problem further, like telemedicine,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
insurance, etc.
Thank you. Thank you, Arfan bhai. It sounds a little futuristic, but still, I think it's possible. Arinjoy wanted to add something.
I think way forward, I think I should supplement one point is, I think going forward, and we actually started a journey, but I think it's very important to make people shock-proof and basically making resilient by providing them the right insurance. So I'm also proud to say that we are the biggest micro-insurer in the world. When it comes to the credit, we have a credit shield insurance. Basically, if the loan applicant, after taking the loan, dies at any point in time, the loan is completely paid off. And we have 10 million active policyholders today. And I think that's a remarkable success, keeping in mind that insurance is not a great success story in Bangladesh, and especially for the marginalized people. And second is like, we also launched recently a deposit protection insurance, which is also the first of its kind in the world. So keeping in mind deposit is very important and what happens to the people like, who dies. And then in case there's a term deposit, for example, in the banking terms, so if the deposit for, let's say, 3 years and something like a DPS that they're paying towards, and if the policyholder or the deposit holder dies, let's say after 2 years, the family will get the entire maturity value. So we have launched that as well last month.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And also the third one that we are now piloting is the crop insurance. We are working with 10,000 farmers now, and that's going very well as well. And also we provide them a satellite-based weather forecasting sent to their phones through an audio file for every 15 days, right? And next one we are working on is the livestock insurance, which is coming in January.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So let me come back to you, Snigdha. All who has spoken, like Arinjoy, Arfan bhai, is the private sector. But then there is a public initiative. So how does the public-private funding, how can we have a blended funding mechanism to reach the last mile? What is the prospect? What is the potential?
So let me begin with some examples of our partnership in Bangladesh that we have been supporting from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to give you an idea how we are seeing kind of a cohesive effort for this blended financing and also the way forward that we're thinking. Both Arfan bhai and Arinjoy, you spoke about the last mile delivery, digitization, being cashless, providing different kinds of financial services and products to the last mile segment, right? But for that, we need an inclusive infrastructure. So we have been working with A2I to help them build an infrastructure base, actually, not only that, actually a digital stack that will go from infrastructure to payment to data and then to service. So all the services, Arfan Bhai, you mentioned, through a kiosk, that can be a seamless journey for a citizen of Bangladesh from anywhere of the country, from the remotest part, and at the same time, it will just be more time effective, cost effective, and definitely more transparent. To do that, however, we really need to be mindful, what I mentioned in my earlier discussion, that it has to be pro-poor, gender inclusive, and just an inclusive system overall. So we have partnered with A2I, and A2I is working on those. So in parallel to the technological development of the Bangla stack, we are also very, very cautious to not add to the existing disparity, whether it's digital disparity or gender disparity or urban-rural disparity or lack of money with money disparity. It should be an inclusive system. Then let me go back to Bank Asia, your former institution. We are talking about bringing more and more women in the financial ecosystem. So we recently partnered with Bank Asia, actually last year, to onboard 500 to 1,000 female agents and onboard 100,000 female clients who will be, and 5,000 among those onboarded new clients will be provided with loans. One issue that keeps coming up when we are talking about women's inclusion in financial services or the financial ecosystem is the lack of financial literacy, the lack of enough collateral, the lack of digital footprint that they need for applying even for a loan or getting it. We're trying to solve that, but through this partnership in two hands. The 500 recruited female agents will be entrepreneurs. They will have a multiplier effect, we are hoping, in the community where other women will see this agent banking as a viable business opportunity and be more interested. And in addition, the 100,000 female customers they will be onboarded will, for the first time, have access to financial credit and other services. The savings that you mentioned, Arinjoy and Arfan Bhai, that in rural areas you saw savings to be more than the urban areas, right? We want to bank on that. We want to see how women from rural areas can benefit from this trend. Then I have to mention our recently kind of wrapped up partnership with BSR, who worked with the RMG factory workers in digitizing their wages. Even though now the percentage of men and women in RMG workers come to like 60-40%, more than less than previous times when it was mostly female dominated. What we have seen is that among the digitized workers, 1 in every 5 worker say that they have started saving regularly, irrespective of gender. But 1 in 8 women whose wage has been digitized say that they have increased confidence not only in terms of financial transaction, but all aspect in the household. And they have started making joint financial decisions. So this was also viable from a business perspective because it cut down production time and cost of production time and cost of just standing in the line and getting the money on the salary day. It saved time, it saved cost, it increased productivity. So this kind of private sector engagement, along with what the government already has in place in terms of digital Bangladesh, I think we have a very potential market in Bangladesh to go take it forward to the next level.
Fantastic, but that's very hopeful. Now I'll come to Dewan. Do you want to add what Snigdha just said, that the potential she's saying in Bangladesh of private-public funding to come up with something joint for inclusion of the grassroots, if you may?
So what we have been seeing post-pandemic era is traditionally banks and MFIs, all the financial institutions think serving this segment is riskier, right? So what happens is they kind to hold back because this segment, say for example, the women enterprises, they don't have enough asset to back it up for their financial needs. So the banks will not finally approve. So what happened is through public and private financing in Cambodia, we tried to address that. And National Bank of Cambodia created a credit guarantee fund, a participatory credit guarantee fund of $200 million that will provide, that partner with 19 different banks in Cambodia. And it covers 70 to 80% of the risk of the MSMEs financing needs. So whenever they default, the banks will get money from this credit guarantee fund, and it will minimize the risk factor. So what happens in this way, in a specific targeting in each area, you have to reduce risk for any players that are operating in this market segment. Because what happens is during the pandemic, all those revenues and transactions of all the businesses, or even for individuals, the salaries, the income has been reduced significantly. So what can the financial institutions do? They will check all those histories that what is the credit history of this person, and what is the recent history of the revenues that he or she has earned. And eventually they will back out. And without this kind of public and private financing support, like credit guarantee mechanism and other innovative mechanism of any kind, they will not provide enough financing to this segment.
Fantastic, fantastic. So now I have a question which links this discussion to what we have discussed yesterday. Yesterday we talked about how we should not think inclusion is empowerment. Inclusion can be just having an account in your mobile, a DFS account, or just having an account in agent bank, but that doesn't guarantee that this woman or this marginalized person is being empowered, financially empowered. So we talked about basically how to bring more people into the net, inclusion and so on. So my question is, in your opinion, what are the one or two top priority that we need to strategy that we need to adopt to ensure that inclusion translate into empowerment? So whoever wants to take it up, this is a open question, common question for all of you.
Okay, yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. I'll speak about it. Thank you. So I think, yeah, absolutely, inclusion does not lead to empowerment. So I think inclusion is just the beginning, right? So that's why I was giving an example yesterday in my session that, we have the numbers, how many people are not financially included, but it does not mean that they're empowered, right? So I think there are a lot of factors included here, like to ensure that they're empowered. And the first thing that comes to my mind is to ensure the empowerment is the livelihood and the income generation. Because that's very important, and that's why we are actually doing the product design and everything, surrounding the income generating activities for women. And digital definitely is a very important factor. It's a critical enabler because then they can have the control of their own money and stuff like that. But in the context of Bangladesh, we know that most of the time it's a family phone. Or most of the time the phone is controlled by the husband or the son or somebody else. So, and when we talk to the women in our VOs, the village organizations, and they always say that they prefer a physical check, like the passbook, because they can hide it somewhere so that the husband or the son, they cannot see how much money they have, right? And the moment it's available in the digital wallet, right, there will be unpleasant consequences if they don't want to give the money, right? So that's a kind of sad reality here, right? We are trying to get it around and overcome the situation by doing a lot of advocacies, because in the VOs that we have, we do not only exchange monies, we do a lot of financial literacy, digital literacy, we talk about rights, we talk about women's rights, we talk about gender balance, we do a lot of counseling, advocacy, legal rights, legal help, and all these things, right? Are we making progress? Yes. But are we yet there? No, right? Not yet fully there. So I think one thing that is very clear is we have seen evidences that when a woman becomes economically empowered, her voice is heard. And that's very clear. I think so economic empowerment and the approach that we take from BRAC side, like, we heard in the previous session that, wherever there is a health issue, there is a financial crisis, right? And then when there is a financial crisis, it leads to most of the time domestic violence and so on. These are all kind of interrelated issues, right? So, and that's why, like, if we focus on like an integrated development that we look at, like, we look at education from BRAC, we look at, legal help, we look at the financial access, the financial health, all these gender rights, gender balance, and now we started looking to the economic activity, connecting with the markets and so on. I think that integrated development approach, where even microfinance will be an enabling factor, right? Not the only solution. So there is no magic bullet. So I think that's the kind of feedback I have.
Thank you. Just to add, a couple of years back, we did a data mining of our health data in BRAC, health data and microfinance data. And we found out that in villages where the health conditions are the lowest, microfinance performance is lowest as well.
Exactly, exactly. And that is exactly why we started to connecting these dots even inside BRAC. So just to give you an example, we have 43,000, we call them Shasto Shebika, like Shasto Kurmi, like health worker. So they go door to door, like, every month, and they meet like almost 70 million people, right? So we thought, why not they're going to door, and they know the financial well-being, the health well-being of the beneficiaries, the marginalized people. So we actually connected them now. So when they're going to these families, if they see that there is a need, there is a, marginalized people, disabled people, mentally challenged people, or pregnant women, they need desperately help, they will connect them with microfinance, and we'll go and help them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Arfan Bhai, Dewan, Appa, if you want to take this. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So I just wanted to say, I wanted to respond in financial inclusion terms. In our team, Financial Services for the Poor, in the beginning, we were focusing mostly on bringing women within the financial ecosystem by creating access, by creating accounts for them. And then we realized that that's one thing, that's a necessary step, but that's not sufficient, that's not enough. Inclusion does not necessarily lead to empowerment. Now we are going through a paradigmatic shift, I would say, where it's products beyond payment in the sense that not only having an account or just maybe once make a digital payment that is necessary and not using it ever again, or just receiving the payment from the government for the social safety net, under the social safety net processes, and then cash it out, not use that account ever again, is really not going to empower women in the long run. So we are looking at products beyond payment, which will increase usage for the female female clientele for financial products and services. Sure. And to do that, we need to be very mindful of bringing men in the discussion, because we know that the social normative barriers, in addition to not having access to the infrastructure, market, not having enough to earn, enough to save, we really need to be mindful of the particular contextual barriers that we have. Thank you.
Arfan Bhai.
Thank you. It is a process. Financial inclusion basically is a process, a step-by-step process. Say, is an example like this. You purchase a book, you own a book. But if you read it, you get knowledgeable, you get the insights, and you become more expert for the next level. So financial inclusion is something like this. First, you have to buy the book. Otherwise, you don't get anything. So you need a bank account. And bank account should be the sixth fundamental human right for all. Whatever we call, if we cannot have a bank account, we cannot distribute wealth, they cannot be empowered. Without money, nobody can be empowered. Men or women, whatever, anybody. Because that is the level, that is the point where the decision-making ability increases and influence increases with the money. So we need to give everybody, each and everybody, a bank account. And then, as Ms. Snigdha was talking, uses, multiple uses, and different type of product and services offerings from different financial institutions, non-financial institutions, and others, development partners. Only then things can change. So digitizing bank account is very important to make it available at the fingerprint at your disposal, and then make it available for the reuse many times. Say, as I said, that the savings rate increased. That tells about the story, that some impact is there. So same thing happening in the rural level, that women who are engaged in small business, they have the voice now about the education of their children, about the marriage of her daughter, because she can now influence. So this is an identity that gives you pride, that gives you social status. So first one is having a bank account, and second, uses, and third, make available for multiple access. It may be banks, it may be MFI, anything. But the point we are trying to reiterate, that money should flow through these small channels to make the things sustainable. Otherwise, the economic development, what we see, will not be sustainable.
Right.
You may produce many things. Who will be the consumer unless these people have the purchasing power?
Reaches to the consumer.
Exactly.
And, yeah. So yesterday we talked about, in a couple of sessions, how we should not adopt a patternistic design where somebody sitting in the top decide what the design should be. You need to really go at the bottom to understand the real pain to address this design.
Very true. So that can give you a realistic view of the grassroots level, bottom, because many things in theory, don't take it otherwise, in theory and in practice, things vary. There is a gap.
Absolutely.
So that gap is understood when you visit some place, when you talk to some people, when you try to understand the people at the grassroots level.
Fantastic.
So you can discover the gap exists always. It is always there. Because we are not saying every human being is different. We may be same in terms of our, say, locality, because in the same locality, the practice is different. Somewhere we found that people do take money, but their payment behavior is not good. As you said, the health overlapping. And same thing about the region, that they believe that this money is for all the time, because early stage, government would give them small money and then they don't take it. So the habit becomes something like this, that they do not pay it back.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dewan, same question to you.
Yeah, I totally agree that inclusion is the first step. Inclusion is the first step towards empowerment. But there are so many steps. Development work cannot be one-dimensional. That's why what BRAC does is so important, that you see through a lot of different perspectives. It's not just financial projects or programs that can change this scenario and empower women segment or anything. There has to be social norm change. There has to be more economic opportunities for the women. I mean, if they want to do business, is the family supporting them? Can they make the decision even after holding, getting a bank account? Are they making the financial decisions for themselves? So these are the things that needs to change, I mean, first. And like Arfan bhai also mentioned, money has to be fluid. If you have like 5,000 taka on your wallet, how that helps you if you have to go out and get that money from one outlet and withdraw it to use. And that will cost you money every time you do that. So it's kind of a crippling solution rather than empowering yourself, right? So how we need to change it through creating a lot of comprehensive financial solutions that gives you more opportunity, economic opportunities, so you get different steps towards getting financially more independent and you make your decision yourself, so you become more empowered. Right?
Thank you. So do we have questions in the Slido? There are. So the trouble is, these are so small. So, Drishti, wallets are often registered in the name of the woman but managed by their husband, sons. How can you ensure women are in control of their own wallet money? First question. Second, can provide finance to women ensure the agency over resources? Or can providing finance to women ensure the agency over resources? What banks and MFI can do to increase the agency of women over resources? Digital wallets often do not mean digital transactions, as essential services providers do not accept digital payments. How can we transform the overall systems? Three interesting questions. Basically is about, again, this final question that inclusion doesn't mean anything if you still need to go and cash your money before you actually buy things. If you can control, it's your husband or son who controls the phone that you talked about. So what can be done? A last minute, I think we have only 4 or 5 minutes left. So 4 minutes, 4 panelists. Any reflection on the 4 questions? Good.
Well, it is fact that, as I said, you made the money digital, but it is not accepted by all. It is no money. Money should be accepted by all. So how people do accept money everywhere in the digital form? That is one by giving wallet to everybody, having QR code, having touch NFC or RFID system, and having enough knowledge that this is money. Money is a claim. As a banker, after all these years, we understand money is basically a claim that you can have this and somebody is promising for this one, nothing else. So this has to be very much understood at the grassroots level.
You talked about awareness.
And awareness, and finally, the booths we are talking, that every shop will have the availability. That I mean, some of the payment system, there are payment systems, so they should go to those shops,
Right.
set up payment system so everybody can use that payment system as and when required.
So you're talking about also the infrastructure in place.
Infrastructure also. So these two can solve, awareness and infrastructure can solve the problem.
Yeah. Any other, Arinjoy, Dewan
Yeah, I
bhai?
mean, I can think of like some alternate technologies as well, like which exist in the world today. Like if you look at India today, like they came up with UPI, and UPI has taken over 72% payments, right?
Yep.
So most of the wallets have become obsolete. So basically, if we have something like UPI in future, you can actually control money much better than a wallet, right? And you can do seamless, payments and stuff like that, right? That's one example. Second example is like, in some countries, like if you look at South Africa, if you look at the Syrian refugees who are living in Greece and Lebanon, there is a card you have where you have your biometric information, like our NID in Bangladesh. You can actually, there is technology today that exists where you can actually top up your card remotely, and you can use it in designated locations, right? So that way you can
That
actually...
card becoming credit card.
Yeah, so nobody can use it except you because your biometric is there.
Yeah.
And then you get the money and you can use it in designated spots, right? So these are the kind of solutions we need to look at in future, I think.
Fantastic. Then by Snigdha, do you have to take 1 minute shot?
So very briefly, we just have 1 minute together, so I'll be very brief. I think behavioral change is really, really important. It is, as we have heard from Arfan Bhai and Arinjoy, you are talking about different parts of the puzzle, right? But we have to have all the pieces together to solve the puzzle. And behavioral change, I think, is an underlying factor that needs to be addressed and brought to the forefront, which will then change the social norms, which will then change the financial behavior or the lack of it. And it will also take it to the next generation that we see when women are empowered, how the whole household is empowered. It's an intergenerational achievement that we look for. Thank you.
John Bhai.
Yes, of course. Behavioral change is needed, definitely. I mean, what these three questions are all focused on the women segment. The challenges are same for the youth segment too. And the only thing that is needed is economic empowerment. First, this women segment needs to get more economic opportunities. And we are being very critical when this women or youth segment is finding new ways to earn. Like for F-commerce, have we taken it or embraced it really positively? No. It took so many years for this woman to prove that this is a viable platform and they can still earn from these platforms. And when they start earning, that's the only way that will give them the power in the family, that will give them the say over the male counterpart. And I should not use the term counterpart. Everything should happen together in the family. But women should earn that respect, and respect has to be earned. You have to do it for yourself. You have to start earning. And there is no other way without earning for yourself to get this kind of problems that you have raised here. This struggle will only be solved only when the women segment starts earning in Bangladesh. Yeah.
Thank you. So that is the conclusion of this panel. I would like to thank the panelists for your insights, and I think, and also for ending in time. I think we lost to the other room. They have ended in time, and I heard them clapping. So we were second. But thank you for finishing this timely. Thank you all for listening to us. Thank you.